Good morning, folks. For the next 2 days, we're going to be doing some naval history in North Carolina. Today, we're visiting the USS North Carolina. Tomorrow, we're going to visit the CSS Neuse, which is an ironclad from the Civil War. There is the hull of the original that's in a museum, and then they built a full-scale replica. And we're going to compare and contrast a little bit. When we put the video together, though, the Neuse will be the first part of the video, and then we'll be visiting the North Carolina. So it'll seem odd how we're talking, but we want to do the Neuse first in the video. Are you ready?
Let's go.
Well, we are in Kinston today, and we're going to visit the CSS Neuse replica ship and the CSS Neuse Museum. So right in the center of Kinston is the replica.
The CSS Neuse, a Confederate ironclad, commissioned in 1863, was constructed to counter Union naval blockades on North Carolina's rivers. Measuring at 158 feet in length and 34 feet in beam, it was designed for river combat, with shallow draft and heavy armor.
So this was built roughly 75 years before the USS North Carolina.
In Kinston, the CSS Neuse II replica, built in 2002, meticulously recreates this vessel, offering a tangible connection to Civil War naval engineering. Positioned along the Neuse River, it reflects the ship's original operational environment. The deck of the Neuse was the central hub for its crew of approximately 57 men, facilitating navigation, combat operations, and maintenance. The ship's sides were clad in 4-inch thick iron plates, bolted over a wooden frame, to deflect Union cannon fire. This ironclad design was a technological leap aimed at neutralizing the Union's naval superiority. The Neuse's primary armament consisted of two 6.4-inch Brooke rifled cannons, mounted on pivoting carriages, which provided 180 degrees of coverage from port to starboard. The wheelhouse, located at the stern, was a critical control center. Enclosed to protect the pilot, it housed a large steering wheel connected to the rudder, enabling precise maneuvers on the Neuse River's narrow channels. The elevated design provided visibility over the deck and surrounding waters. Welcome to the CSS Neuse Civil War Interpretive Center. Just a short distance from the replica it preserves the original ship's salvaged components and artifacts. Established in the honor of the Neuse legacy, the museum houses remnants recovered from the Neuse River, providing insight into the vessel's construction and its brief operational history during the Civil War.
There's a guest book. Yep.
The Civil War began in April 1861 when Confederate artillery opened fire on Union defenses in Charleston Harbor. Confederate Secretary of the Navy, Stephen R. Mallory, decided to use armored floating batteries for harbor and river defense. The first such ironclad ship, the CSS Virginia, was completed in February of 1862 and launched at Hampton Roads, Virginia. In late 1862, a contract was let by the Confederate Navy Department to construct 3 river ironclads for defense in North Carolina: the CSS Albemarle on the Roanoke River, another ironclad on the Tar River, and the CSS Neuse to defend the Neuse River. Construction of the CSS Neuse began at Whitehall, North Carolina, in late October of 1862. Union forces discovered the CSS Neuse being built at Whitehall, now called Seven Springs, and shot the Neuse with rifle rounds and artillery shells, delaying its construction by more than 6 weeks. They attempted to burn it, but the hull was on the north bank of the Neuse River and couldn't be reached. By April 1864, the ship was ready to launch. On April 22, 1864, the Neuse was ordered to assist the Army in an attempt to recapture Newburgh, but around a half-mile downriver, the ironclad grounded on a sandbar. Upstate rainfall finally raised the river waters and rescued the ship. By the time she was free, the coordinated attack on Newburgh had been abandoned, and the Neuse was tied up dockside in Kinston once again. By March 1865, however, the situation around Kinston had drastically changed. Fort Fisher had fallen in January, Wilmington in February, and Union General William T. Sherman's troops had crossed into the state from South Carolina. Over a 3-day battle, the outnumbered Confederates managed to slow down the Union troops, but not defeat them. Captain Price received orders to assist the local troops with defense and then destroy his ship to keep it from falling into enemy hands. The war ended almost 2 months later. In late 1865, the firm of Satterley and Lyons descended on the wreck, recovering nearly everything of value. But the U.S. government retained the guns. Everything else was sold off, and the ship was largely ignored for the next 100 years. With the centennial of the Civil War in the 1960s, new interest developed around the CSS Neuse. This group conducted a salvage operation, viewing it as an economic opportunity. It was not an archaeological recovery. Significant portions of the ship were removed, damaged, or destroyed. The Confederate Centennial Commission of Lenoir County and many local citizens also assisted financially with the recovery. Finally, in 1963, D.C. Murray, house movers from Rose Hill, were hired to raise the Neuse. That summer, the ship finally emerged from the Neuse River, and in 2009, work began to transform it into an interpretive center for the CSS Neuse. In the summer of 2012, all 105 tons of the ship's remains traveled over 3 road miles to its new permanent home at 100 North Queen Street. After extensive preparation and work, the new CSS Neuse Civil War Interpretive Center finally opened on March 7, 2015, on the 150th anniversary of the ironclad's destruction.
The museum's centerpiece is the CSS Neuse's hull, with over 60 feet of wooden beams displayed in a climate-controlled gallery. Constructed from pine and oak, the hull was double-layered and sealed with tar to prevent leaks, supporting the ship's 900-ton displacement. Its shallow 8-foot draft enabled navigation in the Neuse's river variable depths, crucial for Confederate supply routes. Recovered in the 1960s, after nearly a century underwater, these beams revealed the craftsmanship and challenges of ironclad construction. The museum showcases over 15,000 artifacts, including 6.4-inch cannonballs, each weighing up to 100 pounds, used by the Neuse's Brook cannons. A replica cannon demonstrates the armament's scale. These artifacts provide a window into the daily lives and operational demands of the crew. Set ablaze and sunk in the river, the Neuse saw limited combat but played a strategic role in delaying Union advances. The museum's interactive exhibits contextualize this event, emphasizing the ship's contribution to Confederate naval efforts and its enduring historical significance. Welcome to the USS North Carolina, a World War II battleship docked in Wilmington, North Carolina. After surviving fierce battles she faced scrapping in the 1950s, North Carolinians rallied, raising funds to preserve her as a memorial, bringing her here in 1961. Step aboard and feel the legacy. Launched June 13, 1940, and commissioned April 9, 1941. This battleship displaced 35,000 tons and stretched 729 feet. As you ascend the gangway, know that this ship was a titan of the Pacific theater. The ship bristled with firepower, 72 of these 20mm guns, 60 40mm guns and quad mounts, and 20 5-inch guns for anti-aircraft and surface defense. The ship's 9 16-inch guns, housed in 3 turrets, could hurl 2,700-pound shells over 20 miles. Each turret required a 108-man crew working in harmony. The battle ribbons display 15 battle stars earned across 1942 to 1945. The ship logged 307,000 miles, surviving 8 kamikaze hits and a 1942 torpedo strike that killed 5 men. Stroll along the massive anchor chains, each link weighing 120 pounds. The 2 anchors, at 15 tons each, secured the ship. Sailors spent up to 8 hours daily cleaning and greasing them, a task critical to maintain the chains.
Look, let me show y'all something. Come here.
The gun house of the 16-inch turret is a compact, armored compartment where the guns are aimed and fired. Crews operate in close quarters, surrounded by controls, dials, and gun breeches. Sounds include machinery hum, metal clanks, and loud gunfire. Ventilation systems manage heat from equipment and gun blasts. Crews execute precise tasks, adjusting gun elevation and azimuth, operating hydraulic controls, and firing on command. Coordination and accuracy are critical to ensure the 2,700-pound shells hit targets accurately.
You can?
Well, target. I think there's something wrong with the sailors. Climbing onto the bridge, you'll ascend through the ship's 8-deck superstructure, housing 144 compartments and supporting 2,300 men at its peak in 1944. Perched 60 feet above the waterline, the bridge offers a 360-degree view and serves as the battleship's command center. The captain issues orders from his chair, guiding navigation and combat. The helmsman steers the ship using the helm's wheel, following precise course orders from the officer of the watch. The quartermaster assists the navigator, plotting courses on charts, logging positions, and monitoring instruments. The lee helmsman relays speed orders to the engine room via the telegraph.
I thought I heard the phone ringing.
Steve, can you hear me? Steve! I wonder if this connects to banana phones. Someone's sleeping quarters.
In the bakery, bakers churned out bread and desserts daily. The bakery produced 10,000 bread rolls and 500 pies daily for 2,300 men. A favorite was Navy apple pie. 10 pounds of apples, 2 pounds of sugar, and cinnamon in a lard crust. Another crowd pleaser, Navy cherry pie. Tart cherries, sugar, and a buttery crust. The engine room powered the ship with 4 Parsons steam turbines, generating 121,000 horsepower, hitting 28 knots. Every hour, the 8 boilers burned 6 tons of oil. In 1943, engineers maintained steam pressure for 72 straight hours during the Tarawa campaign, dodging enemy submarines. Engineers toiled in the 100-degree heat, keeping the machinery humming, monitoring gauges and valves. A single misstep could cripple the ship, making this one of the toughest jobs aboard. The butcher shop processed 1,500 pounds of meat daily, including beef, pork, and 600 pounds of Spam weekly during long patrols. 2 butchers and 3 assistants worked in a 20 by 15 foot space, using refrigerated lockers holding 30 days worth of supplies. Critical for morale during 1944's 84-day Pacific tour. The galley serves 7,000 meals daily, 3 per sailor, in a 50 by 30 foot mess hall. A typical menu, beef stew, 2,000 pounds of potatoes, and 800 pounds of beans. 6 cooks and 20 messmen worked 14-hour shifts, serving 600 men per sitting during the 1945 Okinawa campaign. The post office handled 10,000 letters monthly. 3 clerks sorted mail in a 10 by 12 foot room, processing mail from fleet post offices like Pearl Harbor. The post office was a cruise link to home. Sailors waited anxiously for letters, sometimes months old. The general store sold $5,000 in goods monthly, cigarettes at 15 cents a pack, 2,000 candy bars, and 500 tubes of toothpaste. 2 storekeepers managed a 15 by 10 foot space, serving 1,500 sailors weekly. The general store stocked necessities, razors, gum, and tobacco. Sailors stretched their pay for small comforts, like a pop or a new comb. It was a slice of normalcy in an abnormal world. The barber shop gave 1,200 haircuts monthly. 2 barbers used manual clippers, cutting hair in just 5 minutes to meet the Navy's short side rules. The print shop produced 2,000 copies of the daily Carolina Chronicle. The ship's paper shared news, jokes, and updates, keeping the sailors connected to the world and each other. The cobbler repaired 800 pairs of shoes monthly. Using a single stitching machine, he fixed leather boots, worn out by the sailors' 12-hour-long duty shifts. The tailor mended uniforms and tailored new ones, from dress whites to work dungarees. Known today as the wishing well, this vertical shaft once served a vital purpose aboard the USS North Carolina. During wartime, it was a supply trunk used to lower ammunition, equipment, and provisions through 11 decks using hoists and pulleys. It now offers a dramatic view for visitors of what was once a critical part of the ship's logistics. Privacy was a luxury the crew of the USS North Carolina couldn't afford. With over 2,300 men on board, the ship's bathroom included just 12 showers and 20 sinks.
That's for number 2.
Fresh water was strictly rationed. Each sailor was typically allowed no more than a 30-second shower. Despite limitations, hygiene was taken seriously. Cleanliness was essential for preventing illness in the close quarters of a warship, and the crew worked hard to keep these spaces spotless.
Telescopes, and later by radar, which ultimately became more accurate.
The ship relied on advanced fire control systems for its time, including the Mark I analog computer. Operated by a team of 4, the system performed up to 20 calculations per second, accounting for over a dozen variables like wind speed, target movement, ship roll, and even the Earth's curvature. In the bunk areas, mattresses are stacked tight. Sailors slept in shifts, with bunks squeezed into every corner. Space was so limited that men shared racks, a practice called hot bunking. Deep within the ship, the base of each 16-inch gun turret was a place of constant tension and teamwork. Stored here were up to 360 shells and over 2,000 silk powder bags, each shot requiring 1 massive shell and 6 bags of finely grained powder. The 10-man crew worked in tight quarters, hoisting 3-ton loads into elevators every 30 seconds. The work was dangerous. One spark, one mistake could trigger disaster. That's why crews trained endlessly, to move fast, work safely, and keep the big guns firing. During the assault on Iwo Jima in 1945, Turret 1 alone fired 432 rounds, using more than 12 tons of gunpowder. Down here, speed and precision weren't just important, they were a matter of survival. Two phrases you've probably heard before, "it takes two" and "it's in the bag," trace their origins back to the gun crews of ships like the USS North Carolina. "It takes two" referred to the two types of gunpowder used to fire a 16-inch shell, and "it's in the bag." That came from how the powder was stored. Instead of metal cartridges, the powder came in fine grains packed into raw silk bags. These sayings are more than just figures of speech. They're echoes of the ship's firepower and the sailors who made it work. Another bunk area reveals the squeeze of ship life. Sailors hung keepsakes, letters, pin-ups to claim their corner. The medical lab stocked liquids and powders for treatments. Corpsmen mixed remedies for ailments like infections, burns, or seasickness. Antibiotics like penicillin were new, and sulfa drugs treated wounds. Basic but effective, the lab saved lives. The operating room was a last resort. Surgeons worked under swaying lights, removing shrapnel or setting bones with ether anesthesia. Conditions were crude, but their skills saved countless lives. Officer country, with its rules for officer country sign, demanded respect. Officers had private quarters and a wardroom for meals, a world apart from enlisted life.
There's the famous Gator. He has a name, we'll have to look that up.
Walking the boardwalk around the ship, you'll see her full 729-foot glory. The USS North Carolina is a living tribute to her crew's sacrifice and spirit, preserved for generations. Well, that finishes our visit to the North Carolina. How many steps did we do? 4,500?
Well, we climbed 11
stories.
went up and or down 11 stories and about 4,600 steps. Just in there.
Definitely worth the money. It was $14 admission for each one of us. We sort of buzzed through it. I mean, if you wanted to take a leisurely pace, you could spend all day in there.
You do have to be able to climb steps.
Yes, and don't wear sunglasses inside because it's very dark. And then tomorrow, we're moving on to the CSS Neuse. We don't know what we're doing for the rest of the day.
We'll head to the beach.
Probably to the beach, maybe we'll spend a little time in Wilmington. Come along. I just had the hottest Thai food I have ever had. What is it? Kapow Thai street food in Wilmington. They warned me, have you ever had their Thai hot? I said, no, but you can't make it hot enough. They made it hot enough. Very good.
How many drinks have you had so far?
I'm on my second Coke.
Were those tears running down your face?
Those are tears running down my face.